Okay. So, as far as, we were going about gear talk, this is very much gear related, just based on how most of us source our material. But as of this week, Guitar Center is going to be filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
Yep.
The official filing is happening on November 15th. They're looking at restructuring $1.4 billion in liabilities and leases on their
Yep.
properties.
Yep. Yeah. And to be clear, Chapter 7 is the we're going down the drains filing. Chapter 11 is we're going to try and rework all this and make it viable. But there's a lot to rework.
Yeah, and they've already done this once before.
That's right. And not that long ago. What was just 4 or 5 years, something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
The big issue, and the one that really kind of like was the sign of things to come, was about 2 weeks ago they missed a $45 million interest payment, which kind of meant that all of this was heading towards somewhere really bad.
Right.
When first of all, if your interest is $45 million, like that's not good.
Well, that wouldn't be unusual. You would just have to have cash flow to cover that payment, which.
Right.
Yeah.
So
a lot of really big companies work on negative cash flow like that, or working on big loans, and the whole structure of them is that's their nut. They make that but these guys not so much. Did not cover it.
Yeah, and talking about, we're getting kind of in the business weeds here, but there's a number of factors that play into this. Definitely the fact that COVID is still out there and people can't go to their retail stores.
Sure.
They've got overhead and rent on properties that are not generating revenue.
Totally.
Looking at the big picture, there are roughly 297 Guitar Centers, and then just over 200 Music and Arts, which is another one of the labels that they kind of run. Music and Arts kind of geared more towards like orchestral, symphonic band stuff.
Yep.
They also sell guitars and sheet music and that kind of thing. But their big ecosystem is around lessons. And of course,
no lessons.
Completely down the
tubes. Not going to sit in a little lesson room with anybody right now. Thank you. Yeah.
The other big property that they own is Musician's Friend. Right. And it's funny because we were talking about this earlier, and I literally got a text from a friend of mine who lives close by. He goes, "Hey, is Musician's Friend in trouble? I've been getting a lot of phone calls from them about buying stuff, and I don't really ever shop there." And I was like, "It's funny you mentioned that."
Yeah, they actually are.
That actually happened this afternoon. It's just, good timing. I was like, tune into the podcast. We're going to be talking.
You're famous. Yeah. Yeah, well, so Guitar Center was always kind of lowest common denominator, and Musician's Friend was next lowest in my book. Yeah. And so when the one bought the other, it made a certain kind of sense. But
like as a musician though, Musician's Friend was a catalog service.
Yes.
That's what, in high school, that Musician's Friend catalog came in. It's
a good day.
It was good times. Yeah. And I just think their web presence never really translated well.
No.
It felt like a catalog on the internet, and not in a good way.
Right.
And it just kind of became apparent as things went on, they were doing these stupid deals of the day. And then it turned out that the guitars that they were selling during the stupid deals were specially made for those kinds of things. So you weren't actually getting the guitar they said you were getting.
Oh.
And there's a lot of that kind of shadiness that wasn't great. But I think, when you're looking at online retailing and stuff, there's so many other vendors that are doing it so much better.
Yeah. Totally.
We think of Sweetwater as this kind of monolith, but it's still it's a local shop.
Yes.
They've just managed to build an ecosystem that is super professional and sustainable and, doing very well.
Knows their stuff, industry leaders, and really, really solid web experience, really solid. Mm-hmm. Which is the thing that Magician's Friend. I need there to be a Magician's Friend.
For all we know, there is.
I'm sure there is. Sure there is. Musician's Friend never. It was like a bunch of cookie cutter pages that come out of a database. It didn't engage well.
Yeah. And for them to put all the money into that, and then GuitarCenter.com, they weren't congruous in any way.
No.
And like the used section of Guitar Center's website was always like hot
Yeah.
garbage,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
like when you're looking at things like Reverb and like
Yeah.
even Chicago Music Exchange's sites. Like there were so many opportunities for them to do things well that they just didn't.
Right.
And it's unfortunate, you know?
Well, and then speaking of opportunities that they didn't take advantage of, the in-store experience was not really a treat either. Um,
But that was kind of on them as well.
that was fully on them. Every piece of it's on them. Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it was. I don't know. Did you ever buy anything expensive in the store?
So I've definitely bought things at Guitar Center for reasons, but nothing major. I don't think I don't currently own a guitar that I bought at Guitar Center.
Right.
I bought them previously, and you know I've definitely gone to like window shop for things that I ended up ordering
Now
online
that's the
or
thing.
finding used elsewhere.
Right. 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 That's the thing. You get a lot of people doing their online pre-shop.
Sure. Oh, you know what? I take that back. You know what I did buy there? I bought my Helix LT there
Oh, all right. There was a
because
deal.
at that,
Yeah.
yeah, there was a 15% off deal and it didn't apply. Like the Line 6 stuff wasn't omitted from it. So I did buy,
Okay.
that's what I bought there.
All right. That's good. I mean, I think that I've mostly used my in-town Guitar Center shop for emergency things on the way to the gig,
Yeah.
much more than anything else. You know,
Yeah,
this
100%.
this cable just died. I need to grab another one.
And I never loved like what was there.
No.
It was kind of like tolerable. And yeah, I mean, having to spend $19 on a single 10-foot mic cable.
Yeah.
It was kind of like it was the urgency tax that you ended up paying because yeah, like you said,
Right.
you needed one that moment.
Yeah, and you had to
Especially
listen
when
to
you can buy them.
had to listen to 12-year-olds doing Stairway
Yeah.
way too loud while you were working on it.
Well, and that's another kind of complaint is people were saying that, you know, the employees there didn't always do a good job. And, you know, I feel like that's kind of on a store by store basis.
For
I
sure.
definitely knew lots and lots of Guitar Center employees that were fantastic. Tom Blair
Huh.
was a Guitar Center guy.
All right.
And he was a good guy to work with, and he was, you know, a good guy to know.
Yeah.
But like I think, you know, at some point after the restructure the last time, they started messing around with the pay structure and like hourly stuff and like their bonus structure. All of that stuff was kind of cut or messed with as like, you know, as a way to cut costs. But the problem is that when you do that, it's a total like morale goes in the toilet.
Yeah.
And then you're going to lose guys that, you know, were top performers. And I think it's a self-fulfilling prophecy when you know, you don't prioritize your employees. The good employees leave and you end up with people who don't
That's right.
necessarily care.
That's right.
You know, or don't care as much.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I will tell you, I saw some pretty dire setups come out of their guitar shop.
Yeah.
In tune, I guess, as long as you didn't fret anything but the first few frets.
Yeah.
You know,
it's not great.
Not great. I'm sure there are good techs there in some stores, but not my local one.
Again, you know, it's you can't judge the entire organization on, you know, those could be the exception to the rule. But I know a lot of people who have had less than stellar, you know, experiences, and I'm sure plenty of the people who are listening or watching to this have as well.
Yeah, and also you know, like Tom, other kinds of experiences with them. You know, it's for sure all of it's going to be very individual, people's experience with them. The one thing you can't argue with is 2 bankruptcies in however many years. Like that's sort of that's where you kind of have to. The buck stops there in terms of judging the organization, right?
Yeah, I believe Moody's, which is, you know, a financial institution, like they've been constantly downgrading the company over a period of time. They have now rated that business model as untenable.
Nice.
So, you know, I think this is a story. Well, this is a bunch of stories kind of wrapped all into one. This is a story about, you know, capital investment getting involved in, you know, music and arts.
Yep.
And it's a story of overextending and kind of getting more into the real estate business than the, you know, music business. I mean, with the outstanding, you know, and negotiated leases, they also owe a bunch of like I think the total number of manufacturer money that they owe to like Gibson and Fender and Taylor and Olufsen. It's like $375 million.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, and that's gonna be tough for those guys when, because the bankruptcy will probably just sweep that away. I mean, or decrease it dramatically. It's going to be tough for those vendors to swallow that.
Yeah, and I mean, and for bigger ones, they might be able to write that off. But like if there are a lot of these vendors that getting into Guitar Center is their entire business model,
Right?
And then all of their revenue gets cut.
Yeah.
Like that's terrible.
Yeah, well, and all their receivables, like they've been banking on that, and then it just goes away.
Nothing.
Yeah.
What I think, what we would hope is, and listen, Guitar Center's not going away. More than likely they're going to close a bunch of stores.
Sure.
So your local store, the Atlanta area has, I think, 3 or 4 of them. We may be down to 1. So there's that. And hopefully what it means is that it frees up the market to open up new stores, mom and pop stores, indie stores.
I don't know.
Because that's really what we need.
Yeah, it is. I wonder. I don't know. It could be that whole concept is obsolete.
I'm not sure, because I think it's the commodification. So this whole Walmart deal where like these big boxes come in and they eat up all the competition,
right?
And then they overextend themselves and then they crap out. So, we thought the same way about music stores, like record stores.
Yep.
So like there used to be like record shops on every corner, and then like a Blockbuster or a Virgin or Sam Goody or Tower Records would come in, and those would go away. But now you've got these little mom and pop vinyl record stores that are doing really well. So maybe that's what happens. I don't know.
Vinyl's such a unique story, though. It's when was the last time a medium from 40 years ago suddenly resurged? Right? I don't know.
You mean like a Fender Stratocaster?
Well, those never went away. That's not.
I think it's a similar idea. It's a specialty market.
I'd like to hope so. For sure, I'm for that if it happens, and I will support it with my dollars. But I don't know. These days, I think if you're that kind of shop, what percentage of your people are coming in to put their hands on something before they go and order it off Sweetwater?
Well, I think that's the other thing, is that you're going to have to find certain things, because I think that's the bigger problem, is that like these little shops aren't selling Gibsons because they can't.
Right.
Because of the distribution model and the reseller model that Gibson has isn't tenable to smaller shops.
Right.
And what ended up happening, and this is kind of this whole thing about like where Gibson lives in the whole pantheon of the future of guitar players, is that it allowed companies like Schecter and Ibanez and stuff to kind of fill this void. And that's why you have a lot of younger players who are playing very different, very less conservative guitars than the people before them.
That's true.
Because they were exposed to this other style.
That's true.
Based on their reseller models.
Yep.
And I think that the big picture we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, is that, this year is the highest sales year for guitars in history.
Yeah.
So these mom and pop stores are doing well.
Are they? Do you think that sales growth happened in person this year?
It did, but I don't know of a single guitar store that isn't selling online as well.
Well, true.
And I think, when your overhead's low, you can kind of make those adjustments. That's
really the point. I think you just said it. If a mom and pop model is gonna resurge, it has to be hybrid. I think it has to be online too. And then
I don't see how.
You just have to be. There's a guitar store in town here. Maybe one of the only independents in my part of the state. Somebody will email with another one, I'm sure, but Bad Axe Boutique. It's a great name, and the branding's fantastic. And they are open like 4 hours a week and by appointment.
Nice.
Right. And apart from that, it's online. And they, it's a really well made showroom, and it looks great and feels great to hang out. And it's very boutique. I mean, you most of the time you're the only person the only customer in the building.
Yeah.
And they let you play with everything, and they're really, really great. But they are queuing up online sales. That's their whole thing. So that's a model that I think can work. I think those guys are doing okay.
Yeah, so there's a place here called Righteous Guitars. I've talked about it a few times, and if you've ever followed Rhett Schull on YouTube, he's there all the time. It's like the guitar store in this area.
Cool.
You know, if you're looking for really guitars of any level, they do sell affordable stuff, but they also sell like crazy high end stuff, like original production year Paul Reed Smiths from like handmade runs.
Nice.
Like they've got all kinds of stuff.
Cool.
They've got a really big storefront, but they're doing a lot of online sales and that kind of thing. I haven't been in, but the other big thing that they have is they're the only place in this area with a Plek machine. So even for setups and stuff, like they're very much in demand. So
cool.
I think they're doing okay. But I mean, the fact that like the business as a whole, the market is doing so well, and Guitar Center couldn't keep up is just a great, I guess, indication of
says it all.
Yeah.
With 2 major online properties and what did we say, 275 stores?
200, over almost 300.
Yeah.
500 if you count the other
right.
subsidiary.
Yeah. A lot of overhead there, but still, I mean.
Yeah. Oh well. Pour one out for Guitar Center.
Yeah, and next time I need a overpriced 10-foot cable, I'll pop right in there.
Hopefully, we'll be back to doing that. We can complain about, Guitar Center not having what we need.
That'd be great.
I just can't wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.